listening to Oilersnation Radio, a member of the Nation network of podcasts and delivered by DoorDash. 1 hour of straight hockey talk with Dan, Rick, Tyler, and Bag Milk starts now.
Welcome, everybody. Friday afternoon, Oilersnation Radio, episode 211. Bag Milk, Dan, Liam sitting in for Tyler. Tyler is in Montreal on the draft floor. We're seeing him on the Zoom call. Rick is at home because Tyler took all the microphones.
That is not true.
That is absolutely true.
False. Fake news. Not true. I'm on the draft floor. I wish it was the dance floor. Am I right?
It could be. Anything could be a dance floor if you're committed.
Every floor can be a dance floor if you want it to be.
Why don't you get up? Why don't you get up and do a boogie? I'd like to see what that suit can do.
Mm-hmm. Dance.
Not much.
Yeah, just start a line dance. See who jumps in.
The WAP.
I'd like to see you nay.
I'm on a limited.
As we do every week, we start off with our delicious debate for our friends at Oodle Noodle, 17 locations and counting. Friday afternoon, maybe you don't want to go to the nudes. You're tired from the draft. You got a lot of recap articles to read at OilersNation.com. Order through DoorDash. Ding dong. Liam, live ding dong, please.
Ding dong.
Thank you. There you go. Oodle Noodle, delicious debate. Where we're going to start off today, Tyler, I'm going to come to you first. There's Frank Saravalli in the background. I see Frank Saravalli in the background.
I know. I got time to answer one question, boys, and I got a dart.
We're going to talk about the Zack Kassian trade. What is your first impressions of the Zack Kassian trade?
Well, my first impression of the Kassian trade is I was like, I think it's a little bit much. Like when you hear a second and a third on top of moving down, which didn't end up being a big deal because they got the guy they wanted. But I was like, maybe it's a bit much. And like you kind of saw the Mrazek deal, and I know I've been told a few times now, like, hey, don't compare them. They're not the same, so I won't. But I thought it was maybe an asset too much. And then waking up today, you kind of go, okay, it's a 2025 pick and a 2024 pick, and you know, you are losing like 2 years of a bad contract. So I actually think it's a pretty fair deal. It's not a steal. It's not a great win for the Oilers, but it's a move they had to do. They had to bite the bullet and pay that price. So I think you got to be pretty thrilled with it. And with that, I dip out. Goodbye, boys.
Say hi to Frank.
Frank's here. Frank, thoughts on the Kassian deal?
Necessary evil.
Necessary evil. All right, boys, we're going to record the rundown. See ya.
Bye.
There goes Tyler. We got 3 seconds of Tyler. He's in a suit right now. What you don't know, because he hasn't really been tweeting it out from his account, but Tyler has been murdering hot dogs. What we found out in Montreal is that the media have got 5 hot dogs so far, is what he said to Rick.
Wow. It's like me and the bananas.
You and the bananas, yeah.
The what?
The bananas.
The what?
Bananas.
The bananas?
The bananas. He speaks the King's English, though, Rick.
It's my language.
That's fair.
It is your language, yeah. So
I wonder if Tyler was presented with a basket of free hot dogs, if he would eat the free hot dogs, though.
Well, I also wanted to ask him last night. Well, I asked him last night, but he didn't have an answer for me. Was he also getting free BioSteel to wash down those delicious dogs, or was he just going in dry with those and having to buy his own beverages? I don't know. We didn't get to ask.
He said there was no free BioSteel yesterday. He said he was going to look for it today, but we didn't have enough time to ask him questions because the other show means more than our show.
Yeah, it's disrespectful. Really is disrespectful. Tyler woke up this morning, had a second thought about it. Kassian trade's okay. Rick, what was your first thoughts?
I liked it, man. Like I get it. Like people want to sit here and complain about fucking second, third round pick. I get it. That's 2 and 3 years down the line. Like to get out of it right now, that's huge. And all you do, if you just turn that into a quality player, let's just say it's like Dylan Strome, just for shits and giggles. Then it's a second and a third for Dylan Strome, or a second in 25 and a third in 24 for Dylan Strome. I don't think that's out of the realm of what you should pay for him either. So I'm good with it, man. I think it was a good move.
This morning I did an emergency episode of Better Late Than Never, just kind of do my take on the Kassian trade, and it's exactly what I said, Rick. It's like, first of all, those picks are 2 and 3 years down the line, so I'll probably forget about them until then. So I'll need somebody. But
that's 2 and 3 years till we pick them. That's like
exactly
6 and 7 till they even fucking have an opportunity to make the league.
Well, that's exactly it. So that was my point. So you're trading that to get $3.2 million in cap space. The Oilers need to make moves now. Mm-hmm. And and also it's worth noting that this trade happened last night, which was Thursday, ahead of us knowing that Duncan Keith was going to retire, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So I liked it. I don't have a problem with trading picks 2 and 3 years down the road. That's normally shit that we would do in video games that the NHL wouldn't normally allow, but it happens. So 2-3 years from now, come on. Free space is going to help them now.
Wasn't it Nathan McKinnon that said, I don't care what picks are in like the next few years, hopefully I won't be here to play with them or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like
Colorado's first pick this year was in the 6th round.
Yeah. You got to move your picks.
Yeah.
That is a forward-thinking move to help right now. Dan, what was your thoughts on the Kassian trade?
Well, I think that anybody that's upset with the transaction just has to look back and shake your fists at COVID, because the Kassian contract was signed just before COVID hit, and therefore the number just didn't make sense after that moment on. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like I've never once had any kind of regrets on it. Like at some point we have to make trades, we have to make transactions, and there's a cost to every transaction. So I don't understand. Like, it's not like we're getting rid of any roster players that are going to make a meaningful impact other than Kassian. And I don't know. That's the price you pay, to quote Peter Chiarelli. I don't know. It's just the way it goes.
I just think that like you need money now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to have a $3.2 million player on your roster, he can't just have 6 goals and 13 assists for 19 points.
Yeah.
That's not spending your assets, in this case, money, wisely. Liam, what were your thoughts on Kassian?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me at all. Like, I liked Kassian. Like, I think he was a good Oiler for like a couple of years there, but like Dan said, like COVID, after that, he kind of went off the rails a little bit. Wasn't the same player he was 2 years ago. We never really saw that San Jose round Zack Kassian again. Who cares what we traded him for, the 2nd and the 3rd? We still got that 1st round pick in there, which a lot of people were saying we were going to have to lose, period, to move Kassian.
Yeah, they moved down 3.
They moved down 3 and probably got the same player they could have got at 29 that they did at 32.
Well, there was a couple of guys around town kind of telegraphing Reid Schaefer, and we'll get to him in a little bit too, as a guy that the Oilers were targeting. They got their man anyway.
Yeah, so what does it matter? And like, the Oilers don't pick in the 2nd round anyway, ever.
Well, so I did this. So Raphael Lavoie, you got there. Ryan McLeod, that's a good one in 2018. But then you've also got a bunch of misses there, like Tyler Benson. No offense to him, that's a miss.
Nothing in 2015, nothing in 2014, 2013.
Marco Roy, who's that?
Never heard of him. I don't even know what team.
He was a defenseman, wasn't he?
He was a centerman.
Centerman from
Oh, my bad.
Armada.
For the Blainville
Mitch Morose.
Armada.
That was another one.
David Musil. This was the Oil Kings era.
Yeah, the Oil Kings era of the draft.
Tyler Pitlick.
Arguably he's had the best NHL career, even though he's not necessarily an impact player, although Ryan McLeod will beat that.
Look at this year. 2010. Pitlick, Martin Marincin, Curtis Hamilton, whoever that is.
Curtis Hamilton plays for the Belfast Giants now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was on Team Canada's junior team. I thought lots of good things coming from him.
I had high hopes for Curtis Hamilton.
1 NHL game, 5 penalty minutes. I wonder what he did.
He got himself acquainted with someone, it seems like.
And then Lander.
I bet he swore at the referee.
Anton Lander, future captain of the Edmonton Oilers.
I was going to say, is Lander the 3rd best player the Oilers drafted in the 2nd round in the last 10 years?
2 decades.
Could be, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, and that's if that's what we're talking about, how the Oilers pick, fucking move them.
Yeah. So the Oilers have just been picking well in the later rounds anyway, so I think that's why Holland just trusts Tyler Wright enough to be like, okay, we can sacrifice a 2nd and 3rd because we know our scouting staff is good enough to pick up players from round 4 onwards, which has been proven. Savoy, Tulio, Petrov.
And they've talked about it, like it's been talked about before at length with the draft potential of these players, right? And you're in your 2nd and your 3rd rounds, you're looking at drafting the same kind of players that you can draft in the 6th and the 7th round. You just have to find them.
Yeah.
So arguably, you look at our 2021 draft and all the promise that comes out of that with Matvei Petrov and Xavier Bourgault and Munzenberger. Like there's a bunch of different opportunities there. Sorry,
Tulio.
Oh,
Tulio.
yes. Yeah. So, actually, he was the year before. He was 2020.
Jason's good.
The same thing, 2020 again.
Alex Chason?
Close.
He was the answer.
He was.
Jake.
The next answer, Jake Chason. Point per game player in the dub this year in like 25 games, had knee surgery.
So yeah, to me, it's like you almost, these teams are almost overvaluing the 2nd and 3rd round picks. But again, we're not talking about like an impact player. We're not talking about a player that was making a difference for this team. And now all that money is gone. And we're laughing. We're sitting here in the office waking up with what, 50 million in cap space, and now we got 21 million. Like things just blew up. So it's I think it's a really good move, and it's a transaction that we had to make.
If you're listening to this right now, I would like to hear from you, your thoughts on the Zack Kassian trade. The interesting thing for me was going through the comment section on Oilers Nation. Zach Lang wrote the article last night, got moved to Arizona. It was very split in the comment section. Very split.
There's going to be people, regardless of the moves that are made, there's going to be people out there who are going to hate the move because it's made by an Oilers GM. That's just plain and simple. Doesn't matter who the GM is. Doesn't matter what the move is. They're smarter than whoever the GM is. They're always going to be upset with the move. Outside of that, I don't see how you can be upset about this move.
Was it split in the sense of people was upset Kassian had moved, or because of the picks that were made?
The extra picks that were added in on the trade.
Okay.
But like that's one thing too, though. You can't say got to trade Kassian, got to get that cap space, got to trade Kassian, got to get that cap space, and then when they do it, be like, oh,
I can't believe somebody didn't pay more for him.
Like
you want to eat salary or move a pick in 2025? I'm moving a pick from 2025.
Because I'll tell you one thing, I much prefer what Ken Holland did with the Zack Kassian situation than if he had bought him out and we had more dead cap space on the books for the next 4 seasons.
Me too.
Yes, you would have some savings this year and next, but you can't keep having dead cap space on your books. You just
next year wasn't even cap savings. I think next year was just running even. This year would have been the only year of cap savings.
That's a good find, Liam.
So it's like
This one?
Yeah.
What do you got there?
So this is what Andrew Ladd was traded for last summer. He was a conditional 3rd round pick for next year, a 2nd round pick this year, and a 2nd round pick in 2021. Went to Arizona, and the New York Islanders required no return, simply a salary dump.
To get
So
the Oilers got a 1st round pick,
Yes.
moved down in the draft,
Still drafted the same player that they allegedly wanted 3 picks previous.
and moved a $3 million contract.
So when you look at that, like
Ladd's contract is a fairly large,
it's a big one.
Yeah.
Like understandable, but when you look at that, the Oilers did okay.
Man, the Coyotes
Yeah.
are just
And I think
picking up everybody's
something
scraps.
to add in that too is Andrew Ladd didn't play the year before. Like he just played 1 game in Bridgeport for the Islanders.
But he did play for the Coyotes last year, so it wasn't like it was an LTIR thing.
12 points in 51 games.
Sick.
I
I
mean,
bet you
Kassian
Kassian will do
that.
that. Yeah.
I bet Kassian scores 12 goals this season.
I bet
And the
like
Coyotes are laughing.
again, that's another thing too. Like Kassian, from his perspective, yeah, it sucks going from a team that was just in the West Conference Finals to Arizona, but you have to think he's going to have better opportunities to play in Arizona than he would have here.
All of a sudden, he slides into like a top 6 mix every day, like an everyday kind of top 6 conversation. So yeah, I mean, for Kassian, the player, it's great to see. He'll probably get a couple more fights down there in Arizona, which is good for me selfishly. But yeah, I don't know. Like we can't, like you said, Bag Milk. It's such a good point. It's just you can't sit here and scream for cap space, and then when we get cap space, be like, "Wow, we can't believe we paid that much for cap space."
Yeah, and the thing too is, I think a lot of people are upset with the amount of players that have been speculated to leave, but like, how many of them are significant contributors to the Oilers? Like, how many of those guys, like Fogle, Kassian, Barry, Smith, Keith, like those are the 5 this summer, I would say. Puljujarvi. How many of them were significant impact to the roster to make it to the Western Conference Finals?
Kassian held Brassard off this lineup.
Derek Brassard, once an Oiler, always an Oiler.
Yeah, never forget.
Keith and Barry were obviously big parts of getting to the final, getting to the.
That's what I mean. Like those were the 2, right? Like Keith and Barry were both good, but the other 3 like could have been better.
I love Jesse Puljujarvi. Stop trying to put him in that list.
I love Jesse Puljujarvi too. It's actually, I'll say it anyway. He had a great start to the season, kind of got derailed in the back half, and for me, it's just a bummer that this is where we're at.
Yeah,
that's kind of
Dude, I'm still not convinced he's going, especially right now when you look at the fact that the rumors say that the return isn't all that large. Holland refused to make that move a couple of years ago when he wanted out. I think if you refuse to make those moves right now, you just wait till time goes on. If you get further in the summer, he is not so close to the end of last season anymore. So you kind of, the negativity of last season kind of wanes away with each day, right? So the further we go into the summer, I think the easier it is to try and get him back in this roster.
We'll see what happens, because Ken Holland said pre-draft you could see this situation, if he does get moved, that is, carrying on all summer, which
he said yesterday that something about cap space and listed some names and listed Puljujärvi's name in the names that he could sign with the newfound money.
Well, we got a lot
yesterday.
We got a lot more money today than we did 2 days ago. So it'll be interesting to see. So I'm going to get to that in a second. The other news that came down this morning, obviously, Duncan Keith. I'm just going to start with Rick because Rick, you've been saying that he's going to retire for months now. Well, he did it today. Pierre LeBrun reported that Duncan Keith, future Hall of Famer, Cup winner, Conn Smythe Trophy winner, all that shit. He is going to shut it down for the final year of this monster contract. Rick, what do you think?
Good for him. He deserves it. He's had a hell of a career. I still think, and I know people will want to shit on me, but I think what he did bring value last season. I know we don't like paying what we paid for him in terms of salary or even to the trade itself, but I think he added a lot to that dressing room, and I think he added well on the ice as well. So I think he was a quality player last year, and I'm happy to see him move on. And the fact that we have the opportunity to use that money now, especially now that we know that bigger players are more enticed to come here this season, it's a perfect time for him to walk away.
For me, I'm with you. I didn't like the cost of acquisition. I didn't like that they didn't get Chicago to retain any salary, but like that's over with. What he did on the ice, I thought he was fine. He wasn't fantastic.
He was better than fine. There's a lot of veteran plays that out there that I think as the young defenseman, even Nurse as much, you learn from that stuff. So there was a lot of value in having him here last year.
Like I said, I thought he was fine. Like I have no complaints with the way he played. I'll put it that way. And I was actually saying to the boys before we started recording, one of my favorite things about Duncan Keith was watching him in the playoffs because he was a filthy fucking hockey player. He really was. He would be hacking at you, cross-checking at you, and I'm going to miss that. I hope Evan Bouchard is going to take some of that saltiness into his game next year as the oldest standing Oiler for the 2022-23 season. Dan, your thoughts on Duncan Keith?
Well, first of all, I'll take you back to July the 2nd when a former partner of ours tweeted it out that there was this possibility of a recapture penalty.
Oh, Puckpedia, yeah.
And we said on that very next podcast, we predicted that this was all a genius move by Ken Holland to have Duncan Keith come in, lead this team, give this team some veteran leadership, and then leave in the offseason via retirement. And that's exactly what happened here. Now, we're not getting the cap recapture penalty, and that's between us and the NHL, and we get to be frustrated by that again for this offseason. But yeah, it's a really a best case scenario for the team. You look at that transaction now of Caleb Jones and the 94th overall pick in last year's draft for Duncan Keith. It's not as bad as it was, that's for sure.
Liam, Duncan Keith?
I can guarantee Duncan Keith played better this season than Caleb Jones was ever going to play for the Oilers.
That's a good point too.
The money thing, once the trade happened, it sucked, but I think you just got to put it aside. And at the end of the day, like Rick said, Duncan Keith was a good player for the Oilers. He brought a lot of value to the team. And I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what he was brought in to do, was he not? I don't think anybody thought he was going to come in and be the Norris Trophy winner that he was. Duncan Keith was going to come in and be a veteran on the team to help them get past the first round and have some player success, which is exactly what happened. He played with the guy who's supposed to be the next best defenseman on the Oilers and definitely helped him. I like Keith. I liked what he did. I'm not upset that he's gone by any means. I'm quite relieved he's gone now with the money. But yeah, I think we need to give Holland a bit more credit for that trade than maybe fans have given him. All of us, I think. I have criticized it a lot too.
Yeah, I still didn't like the trade, but the player was great. It was solid.
Yeah. What the goal was to accomplish was accomplished.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So
we're hanging the banner.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
And someone said he's going to go to the Hall of Fame, so now we can put the banner at Rogers Place.
Well, yeah, Duncan Keith,
yes,
lifelong Oiler.
Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah, lifelong Oiler going into the Hall of Fame.
You heard it here first. He's going to the Hockey Hall of Fame wearing an Oilers jersey.
That's right. Everybody that's ever known Duncan Keith will remember him as an Edmonton Oiler.
Of course, yes.
That's all I know.
That'll
just
be
like Adam Oates.
And Claude Giroux when he signs this summer.
Of course.
Yep.
Yes.
Of course. Well, we're gonna talk about how to spend that money here in a second. But first, I want to tell you about Cornerstone Insurance. For 90 years and 4 generations, Cornerstone Insurance has been a family and employee-owned business right here in Edmonton with all the products you need: auto, residential, commercial, life insurance, everything. Citizens of the Nation, you can get yourself a little discount as well just by clicking the button that says Citizens of the Nation. Got it? Good. CornerstoneINS.ca is where you go to get the details. CornerstoneINS.ca. So now the Oilers have about 20-ish million. Unfortunately, we are not going to get that recapture bonus. Bullshit. Which would have been another 3, which is hilarious, but okay, whatever. NHL takes shots at the Oilers again.
Make up their own rules.
But Chicago, was it a part of the trade? Was that what we were trying to do? Like they were going to like take their penalty and give it to us as a positive instead? Because I was sent a little photo from Cap Friendly, I believe, and it said Chicago's getting dinged $3 million this year.
Chicago's getting hit 5.5 this year and then 1.9 next year. So they're getting the recapture penalty. We're just not getting the bonus that was supposed to be there. So they're getting hit 5.538 this year, 1.9 next year, according to Cap Friendly.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
So all the money they saved from shipping Kirby Doc just got clawed right back.
Well, that's why that starts to feel like those transactions between DeBrincat and Kirby Doc that maybe Chicago's hand was forced by Duncan Keith's retirement.
I wonder if they knew.
I wonder if Uncle Ken just gave them a heads up, or if Duncan Keith gave them a heads up.
That's what they said during the draft coverage there, was that they just kind of slipped it in that Keith has been trying to navigate the minutia around Chicago's issues. So I don't know what
they're gonna need. They're gonna need it at the rate they're going, because they're gonna have to get to the cap floor.
Yeah, they are.
They
move
on
pieces.
from if they're able to move on from either Taves or Kane, or somehow both by eating salary or whatever they have to do. All of a sudden they are way under the cap floor, I believe.
So Liam's got Cap Friendly open right now. If they eat, say, 50% of Kane, somebody will absolutely, without question, take that.
I would take that if I was the Oilers.
I would too.
Or they should, for sure.
Taves, though, that one's going to be a tougher sell.
I think he'll just
I do not want
play the
Taves.
season out.
They have to agree to any kind of transaction too. They both have
both have no move clauses.
So I don't think that I think those guys probably go at the deadline to someone as a rental. I think both of them would.
No, I can't see a guy like Patrick Kane wanting to stick around on that squad,
because they're going to be terrible next year.
Well, I think there was a report today saying Kane's agent is talking to Chicago, right? I can't remember who said it. Fourth period or something like that, I think his name is.
Man,
I think there's a couple other. Pagnota may have said it. There's a couple people out there who said that their agent, they're talking about it right now.
You hate to see it.
If you're Patrick Kane, you want out. Like, I get it. Like, cool. I think he said he wanted to stay if they kept the DeBrincat. They got rid of the DeBrincat and Doc.
Well,
like,
now they're talking about
Patrick Kane's going to want the hell out.
And now they're talking about wanting to get rid of Seth Jones too.
There was reports that they want to move on from Seth Jones as well, because the franchise is taking
that was a
different
joke,
direction.
though, wasn't it?
I don't know. Was it? Because I saw it being reported a bunch of places.
I've seen it a couple places.
But again,
I thought I saw it like in more of a little tongue-in-cheek type of thing.
Oh, it could be. But again,
how does Seth Jones feel right now?
But again, this is like, we're in the middle of silly season now, so it could honestly go either way. Right now is the time where if you have your shitty cap jokes, it's the time to make it, because people will buy it. Or it could also be true, because GMs in the NHL are, I watched the draft last night and I saw Peter Chiarelli sitting at a draft table. Like, the NHL is a weird spot, so it could go either way. But back to the Oilers here. $20+ million in cap space. How are we prioritizing the money? If you're Ken Holland, each of you, all of us, if you're Ken Holland and you've got $20 million to spend, how are you prioritizing the money? One of my first moves that I'm going to make, Brett Kulak by default has to come back. Mark Spector today reported that he's looking for around 2.5 by 4. For me, I sprint to the fax machine and I sell that all day long.
Does that feel like Kulak's camp is like undervaluing himself? That to me was a shocking number to get I
thought it'd be at least 3.
That's exactly it. And there's people that were balking at it.
It said at least 2.5, so take that with a grain of salt, right? That could be easily 3.25 at the same time.
So last year he made 1.85, so he's going to get a raise, no question. And
he has to realize the cap's not really gone up at all either, right? So it's his time right now might be to get his biggest contract possible, but it's not exactly a player's market with the cap not going up, especially a player like him.
Well, if I'm Ken Holland right now, I'm prioritizing Brett Kulak a little bit. We're just lighter on defense. Oilers need a goalie. and they are quickly falling off the market here faster than maybe we expected. Ville Husso went to Detroit, signed a new deal. Kemper has now been made available. His rights have been made available by the Colorado Avalanche. Jack Campbell is out there. Cam Talbot is reportedly unhappy about what's going on in Florida. I'm trying to find the quotes here. I got it right here. This is from Pierre LeBrun. Cam Talbot's agent, George Bezos? Jeffrey Bezos? Is Cam Talbot's agent.
Wow.
He needed the money.
Jeff's cousin George is a player.
Go to Zach Lang's tweet after that, though, because it gives a Bill Guerin response to what the GM says. The agent says.
So Cam Talbot's agent, George Bezos, met with Wild GM Bill Guerin during the third round of the NHL draft, and he said, "We both stated our positions. Billy has a lot to think about," to which Bill Guerin, the GM of the Wild, responded, "I don't have shit to do. Cam Talbot's under contract. George can say whatever the hell he wants. My team's set right now, and that's the way it goes. We can have all the discussions we want. Cam's a member of our team. We really like Cam. All we're trying to do is win." You don't. That is the least GM-y thing to say, and I absolutely love it.
Well, that's a GM that's staring down the barrel of $14 million of dead cap space, to be fair.
So, to that point, how do you keep Cam Talbot at 3.6 as your backup?
That's kind of what I thought too. Is like, why would you want to do that? Like, surely is another goalie you can just go out and get for $1 million, right?
But the play between the two of them, right? Like, for me, Fleury, aging, injured, wasn't even the last goalie that they used during the playoffs, and Talbot was a hot commodity at a couple points during the season. So I don't know, like, Bill Guerin has to recognize that they have to win games somehow, and maybe he thinks it's going to be from the net out.
But when you've got $12.7 million in space that you just can't use, you got to find savings somewhere, and spending 7.1 on your goaltenders, that might not be it.
But also you have to remember that Bill Guerin is just going to say, he's going to tell everybody that he's not going to say, Cam Talbot's free to the next caller that rings my number. Like, what?
But if you look at the Minnesota under cap friendly here, I believe they have almost like a full roster here.
Yeah,
like
they got a full roster
signed.
They have 11 full.
At this rate, I probably wouldn't move them right now either.
But if you look like Liam just said, they're a little bit light up front.
And that team wasn't very good in the playoffs. Like, just disappeared in the playoffs.
They just got rid of Kevin Fiala. That was one of their top scorers last year.
They played St. Louis in the first.
Yeah, but you still got Kaprizov. Then you got Zuccarello. You have Eriksson Ek. You have Foligno. They still like. I mean, it's not like
they haven't signed Delorier though.
They're not terrible.
They're not going to be terrible, but like,
I'm not.
It's going to be pretty tough to compete when you got that much money you just can't use.
I don't look at that Minnesota.
No, and that's fair, and I think they realize that. But you kind of like, would you rather add another forward in this, or would you rather have that extra security blanket type of goaltender? I think just by looking at the roster right now, that $3 million, I think I'm cool using it in that.
Yeah, but what if Cam Talbot isn't cool with you using him as a backup?
Well, that's just
he doesn't have an option in this.
I mean, I guess it's like if you really wanted to, you could refuse to report, but Cam Talbot's not going to do that.
No.
Very few NHLers do that. It's not really an NHL thing.
To feed.
Yeah. So interesting situation around Cam Talbot, but I guess that lends back to the question: how are we prioritizing the Oilers' $20 million? They need a goalie, but who's that going to be?
Well, there's all those reports today on Matt Murray.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know.
Like Ken Holland
Ken
Holland has to stop looking at the guide and record book. I understand the cup rings there, but like he hasn't been good in a hot minute.
Okay, did actually Holland say something about Murray, or did everyone just start saying Murray and Holland and put in the same sentence? Because sometimes
it's the insiders that are putting
if you can just sit there and put them, like, he's out there and he's available, but I've heard him I've heard him like closer to Toronto than to Edmonton. So are we going to sit there and say what's Dubas doing?
I would say that.
I think the team that was looking at him hard was Buffalo, and then
he refused.
It came out and he said, "Yeah."
So I think the connection is Murray said he would waive his no movement clause for Edmonton and Toronto.
Yes, that's so. Right? Darren Dreger said Matt Murray would support a trade to Edmonton or Toronto. So Toronto, go for it, baby. Because what's his cap hit, Liam? Are you looking at it?
625
Like that is if Matt Murray comes here at 6.25, he's going to get eaten up.
for 2 more years.
But what if Ottawa
next year and the year
retains?
after?
Ottawa would have to retain. Like there's no other way.
If you got that cap down to $4 million, would you take Matt Murray?
What was his stats last
2
year?
years of Matt Murray.
Last year he had a 906 in 20 games with a
A
305.
906 is so it's
but
not
Bag
good.
Milk, you know what else he had? Stanley Cup ring.
A guide and record book, I understand, but 906 is not what we're looking for here.
No, and so the last good year was 2019 with the Penguins when he had a 919 save percentage and a 29 wins on the season.
To be fair, we're talking about the Ottawa Senators, not exactly a
They weren't.
marquee organization.
When he was with Pittsburgh, he was good, as we know. 930, 923, 907, 919, 899.
He only played 2 games in the playoffs and then 4 games in the playoffs after he won the cup. He got swept in the 4 games. Good. That's good.
So I don't like that option.
The thing that the only upside to that there is that it's only 2 years. If you look like Kemper, I think it's gonna be 4 or 5. You look at Campbell, it's gonna be 5. So the rumors say. So the fact that it's 2 years might be
But do you really want
a
to
little
waste?
bit better.
Maybe not waste. Who knows how it would go potentially? But would you really want to put a 2-year gamble on such a critical position?
Not really, but you guys, what's their belief in Stuart Skinner right now?
I don't think it's overly high.
He's got what 13 NHL games played. You can't have your sights set too high on Skinner. Obviously, your hopes are high, but like expectations shouldn't be that high.
On a shutout streak, though.
That is true. His last game was a shutout.
Yeah, so it could continue.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't let in an NHL goal since.
What's the gamble difference between Murray and Jack Campbell?
I would say recently Campbell's been more consistent. I mean, like Matt Murray played in the AHL last year.
Yeah, apparently, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'm sure he had like some
Conditioning stint.
I think it was some like...
You
no,
can
he
send a goalie to the AHL on a conditioning stint?
No, he got sent down for sure. He 100% got sent down. And
Only played 20
apparently
games.
that was like a big like mental thing for him. Mike McKenna was talking about it once. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something weird was going on with him.
Well, let's
in
get Mike
Ottawa.
McKenna on the podcast, Liam.
I don't... Call him.
Let's do it.
Ring. Hello.
Ding
Mike
dong.
McKenna here. Barbecuing
where
in
we
St.
take-
Louis.
Is this where we take that
Shout out to Nelly and City Spud.
that forced ad break, Liam? Do we have to
I
do
don't
a-
know how this works.
I
do we
don't
have to do
know.
a special ad break? Let's go to break.
I don't want to go to break.
Everyone's just listening to this like, what?
So what else we got that needs to be prioritized, boys? Do you think now that this cap space opens up that
It's
Evander Kane could come back now?
He's still here.
No,
You say no?
I don't think so, because the rumor was that all the Oilers were offering was to top up his settlement to what he was supposed to be getting, and that was way off of what he wanted. I think they're actually going to look at sort of the Giroux-Strome type combo where you can get 2 players to cover the offense and utilize them more in depth roles as well.
I can't see, like, I know the Giroux rumors are fun. I just can't see him signing here after playing his entire career in the East. Like,
What's he going to do? Go to Ottawa? Well, I guess now Ottawa doesn't look as bad, but still.
Ottawa doesn't look as bad. I can't imagine there's not like a Washington type out there that always seems to find a way to make these things work. Like someone on the East.
Why not us? We're. I guess the travel part, I completely understand that, especially for a dude who's like 34, whatever his age is. But I mean, like, if you want to win, dude, we were just in the Final Four, and we played it with about 8 forwards, one of which was hurt. We played it with our best defenseman being hurt, and we played it with a goaltender who was not great, and we still made the Final Four. This is a real roster. If you want to win, you have to seriously give Edmonton a serious consideration.
Oh, I'm not saying he shouldn't give Edmonton serious consideration. I don't think he comes here. And I think it's just going to be, he's played 13 years in the league at this point, and they've all been in the East, easy travel. I don't know that he'd want to do it at this point. Unless, of course, Edmonton's going to extend him longer than just 1-2 years so that he can settle a little bit. You know, he's got kids and a family. That makes sense to me. I would be shocked if Claude Giroux is an Edmonton Oiler.
I think it's, and this is strictly from absolutely nowhere. I think it's more probable than shocking. If to me personally.
Why not get into the Nazem Kadri sweepstakes?
I would love
Because
Kadri.
I think he's gonna
make.
I would
bank,
love the type of player, but his contract's gonna be more than what he's gonna bring to you.
and he's a 31-year-old, so he's gonna cash in on what was a monster season for him down with the Avalanche. So at 31,
He's gonna look for a 7-year contract for sure.
he had 28 goals, 59 assists for 87 points. He's going to get paid. He is going to get paid.
And from what I hear, Giroux's not gonna get more than like a 3-year for many quality teams anyway.
So we'll see. Giroux had 65 points in 75 games, so he's still producing. I'd love to have him. He can still take faceoffs, right shot. There's lots to like about Claude Giroux. His beard game is excellent.
Yep.
I just can't see it happening.
What about Ryan Strome and Dylan Strome?
The Strome brothers.
Double trouble.
I'd like to see that. We dress them up like the Bushwhackers and make them skate on the ice, and they've waved their arms in the air like that.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
That could be something.
Come on, that's perfect. I love the Bushwhackers reference.
Of course. Ryan Strome, how did he do? So 21 goals, 33 assists for 54 points.
He's going to get overpaid.
Yeah, he's going to get overpaid.
But maybe if he wants to play with his brother and we get Dylan.
And they have Bushwhacker uniforms.
Yes, again.
Which is, include that as part of the pitch package.
Mm-hmm.
Both are friends with Connor.
Yes.
I would have time for Dylan Strome.
I would too. I would actually like that a lot.
I would have, because that would be a guy that can chip in with a little bit of offense. He had a 20-goal season in Chicago.
And he's big. He's 6'3".
We love big guys.
Yeah. Well, especially if we're going to move one.
Of course.
We love him that much, we're going to trade.
Hold on, because everything coming out in the last 20 minutes says Holland said they were nowhere near to moving Puljujärvi yesterday or today.
I meant Kassian. And
he's massive. Yeah. So Dylan Strome's going to have to learn how to drop the mitts too. I don't know if he's had any scraps on hockeyfights.com, but you can check that out in your own time.
No.
Yeah. What else you got over there, Liam?
Mason Marchman.
54 games. He had 18 goals, 29 assists for 47 points.
27 years old. Can play either side. He's a lefty.
Is he big? How big is he?
He's like 6'3", I think. And he's a pain.
Oilers need more annoying players.
Yes.
That is something, especially with like Kassian leaving, they need guys that can be annoying.
With Kane probably not coming back, they need someone that's that. But that's where I think where an extra Claude Giroux could get away with some of that stuff. He's older, he's been around. He's not going to get pushed around, and he'll push back. He may not drop the gloves like Kane does, but I think he'll do everything up until that part.
See, that's why I think someone like Marchman could do a job, because he had almost 20 goals this season. He had 18 and 54 on Florida, who's a highly offensive team. So are the Oilers. Mm-hmm. Like, why can't he do exactly the same here on a wing with McDavid or Draisaitl? He could kind of fill that void a little. He's like almost like a poor man's Evander Kane, and he's 4 years younger. Maybe. I think that's a pretty good option if they wanted to go down that route. 3 years younger, sorry.
So, Liam, if you're looking at it, you're Ken Holland. You got $20 million to spend. Potentially more if they do decide to trade Barrie still. Mm-hmm. Some people are saying now that the Keith retirement happened that they're less likely to trade Barrie, but I don't understand why those are connected. If you've got Bouchard as that guy, I'd like to bolster up the defense with a guy who just shuts it down.
I think Barry's almost blocking the way for Bouchard.
Yeah,
like power play, that kind of stuff. Like I think
I don't think he gets number one power play next year if they're both here. I think Bouchard gets that hands down. So I think they like the way that he played in the playoffs, Barrie, but and he didn't look terrible when it came to defensively, but he's definitely going to be the third right-handed defenseman, right? Like he's going to be dropping down there.
That kind of adds to the point. He came in to be the quarterback of the power play. Mm-hmm. So if he's not going to do that anymore, then why do you need him when you have Nurse and Broberg, who are probably both capable of doing that, right?
Nurse could take
I agree. There's number two for sure. I agree. There's probably better options out there for Barry's money in the position we want Barry to play. But I also think he probably brings something to the dressing room too that we really can't really measure, and that's going to be part of it too. Like if you're going to bring somebody in, you need someone who's going to be good in the room if that's what you're replacing Barry with.
Mm-hmm. And so say the Oilers keep Barry. Your pairings are going to be Nurse Ceci, Kulak, Bouchard, Broberg, Barry.
That can't be the third pair.
that's your option right now, isn't it? Like,
Unless you play Barry with Kulak.
but then you play Bouchard and Broberg, or you play Nurse and Bouchard.
Yeah. So to me, that tells me they need upgrades on defense.
Because you don't want.
I have a different way of thinking about it. I want to see them go as 7 defensemen because it eases up on the what you're asking for out of the Brobergs. So I could see that 7th defenseman being whether it be Niemelainen, Russell, whether they like the right-handed big defenseman down there, because it gives that young guy some experience. It eases up on what you're asking out of Broberg. We have the offensive firepower to play with only 11 forwards. I really like the going 11-7 into this year when you have the youth on D that we have, because the way that Mattson was able to deal with it last year, it really helped the young guys and what was on their plate, I think.
I just think they need to get. I always want. It doesn't matter who you have on defense. I always want upgrades on defense.
Yeah,
always. And I think that the Oilers could probably try and figure that out somehow. I would like.
But you got to do the goaltender first, though, right?
Perhaps.
I don't know anymore. I know that like the broadcast. Somebody, I think it was Drager, said that there's like 14 teams right now that are looking for a goalie, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I do think that there is some teams still looking. I just feel like the pieces are moving, and like, yes, I think that if you can make a transaction for a goalie that's currently with an organization like a Connor Hellebuck, that you could
Hellebuck, let's do it.
If you could do that, let's do it. But otherwise, like we talked about it last week, I think on this podcast about how maybe you just wait and see now. Maybe you see how the goalies kind of shake down because so many teams have already jumped the gun and made a transaction for a goalie.
I don't know.
But those are goalies I don't think we were considering, because I don't like, and I've said this before, is I don't think
Husso was for sure
really confident bringing in that goalies that young, right? So whether it be Gorgiev or Husso, if you had like a Smith or a backup veteran, I think you went after him a little harder. You might be upset right now, but I don't think they wanted to walk into the season, into the dressing room with Connor and Leon there after coming out of the Western Finals and say, here's your 2 goaltenders. They have about 100 games played.
I would say the exact same thing on defense, though. Connor and Leon are going to want upgrades on defense and in net for sure. So if you're looking at like right now, Darcy Kemper is probably the best UFA. Jack Campbell's in there. Braden Holtby is available. Halak, no thank you. Martin Jones, no thank you. Dustin Tokarski, I forgot he existed. Thomas Greiss.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried we get in the same situation as we did last season where it's like, okay, who do you want? Mike Smith or Aaron Dell? Because those are the options at the end of the day, and I just don't see how I just don't know how they can just sit around and wait anymore. Like, they need to get on the Darcy Kemper train, find out if he actually wants to be an Edmonton Oiler, then trade whatever pick Colorado wants. I don't
think I would touch Kemper. I didn't like. He wasn't at the top of my list when he's coming out of Arizona, and he's definitely not at the top of my list right now. Like,
who's number 1?
I think I'd rather go, especially when you have to sign him UFA. I'd almost rather go Holtby. Or
I don't think Holtby would come
someone's going to be two years of a quality backup playing 35 games and giving Skinner the other 50 something. I'd rather go that way because it's easier to get out of that. Kemper doesn't make me feel good about the goaltending position.
I don't think Holtby would come here. A couple of years ago, there was rumblings that he just doesn't want any part of the hometown local kid kind of thing. He's from Lloydminster. That was before he signed Vancouver.
Was it Vancouver? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would rather have a goalie come in and Stuart Skinner prove that he can actually be the number 1 goalie than just bring in an old guy thinking Stuart Skinner will just take the reins.
Yeah, with 13 NHL games played, that's
Kemper,
not the move.
The money and the term for a UFA is what scares me.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think Husso would have been a good pick for the Oilers because he was only 27. What did he sign for in Detroit? 3 years?
Yeah,
3.5, 4 and a bit. Yeah,
and it wasn't even that crazy of money. Like you could have had those 2 guys running at $8 million for 2 years. Would that have been so bad? That'd
been all right.
You just had Koskinen for 3 years at 4.5. So definitely an upgrading for both of them. I don't know. I just think the Oilers need to get off their hands and find the goalie before it just slips away like it has last year, the year before, and the year before that.
What are you whispering? Well, I mean, the Hellebuck, yeah. Winnipeg, blow it up.
Just keep it going.
Nobody wants to go to Winnipeg.
What's it going to cost for Hellebuck, though? Because we really can't. We don't have the assets to lose anybody off the roster.
I would absolutely start trading prospects if it meant for a guy like Hellebuck.
I would give
if
up a guy
if they
on the
like want a
roster.
guy like Broberg or something like that. If that's like one of the prospects they want, peace.
Yep.
See you later.
I'd give up Skinner and Broberg for Hellebuck.
Wow.
Like, why do you need Skinner if you have Hellebuck?
Then you can just sign Eric Comrie out of their free agent.
There you go.
Well, what's Hellebuck got on his contract still?
2 years left at about 6 and change.
I'm just saying, if we keep
2 years
talking
left,
about
so
it-
you play Hellebuck for 2 years. You give Skinner 2 more years to develop behind him. And if you feel like Skinner can be a number one, you got a number one. You can use Hellebuck in a trade at that point.
I don't even remember where this Hellebuck conversation came from.
We made it all up.
But I saw an insider talk about it last week.
Oh, they're listening to us.
They're hearing this
Hellebuck,
stuff. So let's
come to
keep
me.
shaking it loose, boys and girls.
I'll
Think about
buy
Hellebuck.
you the bus ticket myself to get here.
I'll pick you up.
Liam will pick you up.
Where though?
Well, the bus
Are you
station, of
driving
course.
right? Are you driving him right from like the arena in Winnipeg?
Fargo.
No, I'm going to buy him a bus ticket. Liam will get him from the station.
Come on, guys. We got to step up here. Drive out to Winnipeg, buy him a plane ticket, drive him to the nearest airport, and then fly. You don't got to drive him the whole way.
Or
You got to show him that. You got to show him that first class love.
Daryl Cates lands the PJ on one of the roads right outside the MTS Center or whatever it's called these
Portage
days.
Avenue.
Yeah, on Portage Avenue.
Yes.
The PJ,
It's
we
the one
cleared out.
street I know of in Winnipeg.
The PJ lands. That's how we get him out.
I'm down.
Right? There you go. Other news, obviously. It's the draft we're talking about. Liam, what do you know about Reid Schaefer, our new friend that was picked at number 32?
I know he played for the Spruce Grove Saints, so he's very
local boy.
Yeah.
He's big.
Yeah, he's big. I was putting some highlights together of him. He can shoot the puck pretty good, which is promising. I feel like he's just going to be a middle six guy for the Oilers down the road.
I was kind of thinking you were going to say he can shoot the puck, which would have been.
That is nice.
Oh, you did. But you said good.
Shoots
you
well.
qualified it. You gave us a good qualifier.
Yeah.
there.
The Oilers it seems like they want to fast track getting these guys into the actual Oilers lineup. Like Schaefer's an 03 and this was an 04 draft.
As a quirk on that, Ryan Pike from Flames Nation sent me a note saying, because he's a late birthday, if the Oilers sign Schaefer before the end of 2022, they'd actually get an additional slide year and his ELC could last 4 years instead of 3. It's a weird CBA quirk, but it's the same one that the Flames used on Connor Zary.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was a consideration because I don't think he was the best player available at that point. Like I know a lot of people like that Jagger Furcus.
Name's great.
He was great. But if you get an extra year, it's all about saving money with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Chris Peters from dailyfaceoff.com had Schaefer in his draft rankings. So he said, a late bloomer that broke out this season. Schaefer was a major part of Seattle's run to the WHL finals. He's big, skates well for his size, and put up 32 goals in 66 games. He plays the game with strength, but also has a soft touch on the puck, which led him to rising up draft boards throughout the season. Low tech.
If he's an old draft, does that mean he can play in Baco next year? Does he still have to go back to
He's
junior?
got 1 year left.
1 year.
1 year left with Seattle. And that's not the worst thing either for that kid. You know?
I remember watching him in Spruce Grove and was wondering how he would even do last in the WHL.
Why is that?
Just because he didn't contribute like a ton offensively. Like he was just a big physical presence. And he did a good job of it. He protects the puck well and all that kind of stuff. But now it seems we pulled up the numbers here. It seems like he's kind of rounded out his offensive game quite a bit. And those other tools are still pretty good. And now he has 32 goals in 66 games and 88 penalty minutes.
And I feel like you guys are leaving out the most important parts of this. He's from Edmonton, and he was an Edmonton Oilers fan growing up, and he envisioned himself being on this team during our playoff run.
I would like to make a quick comment on that.
Go ahead.
To call out our new Reid Schaefer. When his graphic came up on the thing, it said his favorite team was the Vegas Golden Knights.
Nice.
What?
I saw that. Yeah.
That is
And
rude
then he
and disrespectful.
How are you are not a Vegas Golden Knights fan, Reid.
There's no way. Nobody
They're
is.
a team of 4 years old. Doesn't make any sense.
From Craig Button at TSN, he says Schaefer has certainly proven projections wrong during his NHL draft season. He opened up this year with a C rating from NHL Central Scouting, which is assigned to those considered candidates to be picked in the 4th round or later. He was number 85 on the mid-season list of North American skaters, but after scoring 32 goals in 66 games, he rocketed up to number 31 in our final rankings. So there you go.
And if you look at some of the comparable names, I kind of like if he grows into this, because I was even listening to Gazzola this morning, and he was comparing him to Tanner Jeannot out of Nashville.
I wouldn't mind that. Because you know what?
Exactly.
If you get a late first-round pick, so I did the history of 29th overall picks. Obviously, the Oilers traded down to 32 over the last decade. It's a mixed bag. So if this guy can actually get into being a middle 6 forward for the Oilers, that is A-okay with me. Mm-hmm. There ain't nothing wrong with that. And we love our big boys around here. And that is what he is. He is a big, big boy.
6'3", 214 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Pure
At
room to
18
grow.
or 19.
Muscle.
Room to grow. He probably knows all the best donair shops in town, too. Rounding out the draft, the Oilers only had 4 picks this year. Samuel Janssen, Giants goalie, 158th. That was in the 5th round. Nikita,
Go ahead.
Yevseyev. Nikita Yevseyev at 190th overall. And Yoel Mata at 222nd overall. Rounds things out. Liam, you shook your head at that one.
It's so obvious why they picked him.
Why is that?
Because Todd Woodcroft is a head coach of the University of Vermont.
Todd Woodcroft?
Yes, who is Jay Woodcroft's brother.
Same as the
Toddy knows
Munzenberger pick from last season.
Yeah,
That's some inside information.
but that team isn't good.
But what if Joel Mata is the reason they're not worse?
He was on the team.
I know, but they would be worse without him.
I think they had 4 wins last season.
Well, what if they only had 1 without him?
See, Dan's taking he's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Very good point.
Hey, if there's one person I'm going to believe in, it's a Woodcroft.
I believe in Tyler Wright. Every pick he makes, I believe in him.
Would you say he's right?
Most
Quite
of the
often?
time?
He's right very often.
Mm-hmm.
I would say last year he was right on all of the picks.
So last year was Xavier Gaborik, Luka Munzenberger, Alex Don't Call Me, Jake Chason, Matvey Petrov, Shane LeChance, and Maximus. Ooh, I like that name. Maximus Wanner. Wiener? Wanner.
Maybe
Maximus.
Could be Wiener.
Could have been.
Never know. There you
Either
go.
way, Maximus is a fucking cool ass name. Shout out to that.
A lot of good names.
There's some great names coming through these
Xavier
days.
Bourgault.
That guy who went to Winnipeg. Oh,
Who's the guy that went to Winnipeg? Winnipeg.
Brad Lambert.
no. He was like a Rutger or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Rutger McRorty.
Yeah. He was the other
Yeah,
guy
there
who
you
went
go.
to St. Louis, who I liked his name a lot. Smurgard or something like that.
St. Louis Blues draft picks. 1 second, Liam. I'll help you out here.
Thank you.
Jimmy Snuggerud.
Yep, that one.
Every year.
Hey, if that dude's nickname isn't Superfly, every one of his teammates is letting him down.
I don't. Yeah, well, it'll be because they're all kids now at this point. Do they even know about it? Do they even know?
I sure as hell hope so. That's got to stick around.
Every year I get tricked by one of those meme accounts that just goes in and makes up all these draft picks names, and it's like I can't even believe some of these are names. It's like Frigid Air and just like
Well, it is
nonsense,
interesting once you get into the later rounds of the draft too, because I wrote the news piece for Oilers Nation for the 5th round pick for the goalie, and there was nothing on the internet about this kid. So I said to Coombsy in the 6th round, I'm like, good luck on this one, and then Zach in the 7th. It's just, what are you going to do sometimes? Yeah. What are you going to do?
Hey, for the record, I think Gregor pointed out the best name of all. He went to Columbus. Luca Del Bel Baluz.
Yeah, Liam's got beef. Go ahead, Liam.
Am I doing this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I contacted the people in charge of Luke Del Bel Baluz. And
yes.
We had a good conversation. We got an interview lined up. I started the Zoom call. I waited. And I waited even longer. And Luke Del Bel Baluz did not show up to my interview with him.
Would you say he made you sing the Del Bel Blues?
He made me lose, and I had the Baluz. So I was hoping... Never mind.
So you hate him. You were hoping he was going to go undrafted.
There was a couple of guys. There was OHL guys. I won't call out the other guy, Michael Bushinger.
To give a little background on this, Liam gives us an update every Tuesday on how he's doing for the week, and every week he was giving us an update about such and such a player that ghosted him, or such and such a player that refuses to answer his email.
I've got some interviews lined up this week. It's going to be with this guy, that guy. We're like, great, Liam, let us know how it goes.
Next week.
Yeah.
Well, none of them show.
I've got these interviews lined up now because so and so didn't show up.
Yeah, but shout out to Adam Ingram, Quinn Finley, and Nick Moldenhauer, who did show up to the interviews, and congratulations on getting drafted.
Those are upstanding young men. We wish them the best. Thank you for the interviews.
So next year, draft picks, when you hear Liam's name come up, answer the damn
you
call.
answer the call. You show up for your Zoom meeting. Luca Del Bel Belouz. Come on. That takes us to Ask the Idiots, boys. We are running a little bit long here so far, but that's okay. It's draft week. We got lots to talk about. Ask the Idiots questions came in, a couple of them over the last couple of days here that are draft related / cap related. BustersPizza.ca. There's a location near you, I promise. Pizza, pasta, donair, combos, combination of all of them. Maybe you get yourself some kind of 7-course meal, all from Buster's. You start with some breadsticks, maybe, salad, keep it light. Then you move on from there. BustersPizza.ca. Ask the Idiots here. I'm going to start with Liam. First question that came in. You get a chance to rub Gary Bettman's head, and he grants you one wish to make an amendment to anything NHL related. Not gameplay related, though. It can be rules. It could be cap. It could be trade rules changing. Is there a rule that just annoys you that you would like to change that is not specifically about what goes on the ice?
Maybe this is a better one, but don't change your rules as you please.
Like the cap recapture penalty or bonus?
The Neil thing.
Yep.
I would say that. Just like stick to your rule book. Those are the rules. Don't sway from it. Maybe that's a cheap way out, but that's what I'll say when I'm rubbing Gary on the head.
Dan, you're going to rub Gary on the head now, and you get one wish to make a non-gameplay related rule change or change of some kind. What do you got?
Well, first of all, I love the idea of just walking up to random people and rubbing their heads to see if you get a wish granted from them. But I'm excited to find out that this is the way that this works with Gary. And my rule change would be if or after every game, it's open season in the press conferences afterwards. You can say whatever the hell you want, and there is no repercussions whatsoever. I think that the hockey needs a little bit more wrestling to it, and I would love to hear some coaches just be able to tee off on the referees or the other team after games. So to me, you get diplomatic immunity for post-game press conferences.
I would also like to have just no more media training the players. I'd like to have a little bit more NFL, a little bit more personality, a little bit more wrestling in their interviews, getting pucks in deep, doing their best. You know, all that shit sucks. Rick, what's a change that you'd like to make?
Oh, well, I wanted to say like the rubbing the guy on the head who you don't really know doesn't go all that well. If you want to ask Gene Shorts about that a couple of years ago,
you'll be asked to leave the pint if that happens.
Anyways, I'm gonna rub him on the head and go, you know what, Gary? I think it's about time this league and all the white collars running it in front of cameras to the public admit that you're not always 100% right. Admit some of your faults. You'll come off better in the long run. Just enough of the whole, we always start the game on time and those type of things where they just never admit any type of fault. It's okay to admit some faults. Nobody's perfect. It's show us a little bit of vulnerability.
I'm gonna give this as a rule change. You know what? If you say the game starts at 7, I want it to start at 7. How's that? Or do what baseball does and say puck drop at whatever. But 7:07. That's when it starts. And it'll be like, okay, I know I've got 7 minutes of nonsense here. Got it. But don't do this thing where you say, like in the playoffs, I'm thinking of Battle of Alberta, second round, Oilers, in case you forgot, 4-1. 5 games, Flames were out.
That sounds good.
Did sound good.
How was Markstrom?
Markstrom was not good. But there'd be like 8 o'clock start, and it would be like 8:30, 8:35 by the time the game got going. Stop it. But the rule change that I would make, I said it last week on the podcast, I think. Maybe it was real life. I don't remember. I would do franchise player tags.
That was on our podcast.
Oh, that's a good one.
Connor McDavid, you are now the franchise tag. You do not count against the cap. Franchise tag.
Keep the cap the same.
Yep.
You get to take one player off. That might cause a little
rattle.
ruckus between the players too.
Mm-hmm.
You like F1 where guys don't want to admit that he's the lead.
Yep. Exactly it. Franchise tag.
But like like we said on the Tuesday podcast, who would you franchise tag if you're Arizona?
Zack Kassian.
That's what I mean. Like
Chychrun.
you basically are just
Clayton Keller.
But there's a guy that doesn't want to be there, right? In Chychrun, arguably.
Well, if you treated him that well.
Yeah. You're the franchise.
Because like the NFL, they'll franchise tag like offensive linemen on bad teams.
I just thought of a fun one.
Go ahead.
Just came in my head. You get eliminated from the draft lottery if every 3 years. So if you're in the draft lottery for 3 years in a row, the fourth year you're not allowed to be in the draft lottery.
That was known as the Edmonton Oilers rule.
They tried to make that work.
Yeah.
We just kept winning them anyway.
But no, you're just out. Like you pick 16, whatever it is.
That's fine.
Like if you don't make the playoffs, because then it forces teams to actually try and be good.
Mm-hmm. Another one I would do, if you request a trade, your no move is void.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hate those when it's like, you can only trade me to 1 or 2 teams. Like, what is that?
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually heard this one from Gregor the other day, and it was really, I think it was on the rundown. He was talking about how the NHL should adapt the contracts that the NBA do for players. So rookies, you can't be a full free agent until you're over 25, but you get like a rookie max deal, and then after that, you can basically get as much money as you want. I think that might be good.
I have another rule.
Go ahead.
No more Ticketmaster. End Ticketmaster's control of
Straight to the
tickets.
door.
Dan wants to sell the tickets from his house.
I would like to sell the tickets for the Oilers.
He's got big boxes of them
Give
in
me
his
a
garage.
call. Dan@oilersnation.com. Send me an email. Oilers, I know you're listening.
Any other rules? Last call?
That's it.
Yeah, no, like off-ice rules.
Oh, I guess it's a gameplay rule. I'm getting rid of the shootout. I'm extending the 3-on-3 OT.
Yeah. Endless 3-on-3 OT?
No, I'd say 10 minutes of...
If you don't, it's not endless, then there's going to be ties again. I'm fine with ties.
I'm fine with ties. So I'm going to say I've got 10 minutes of 3-on-3 OT. That's going to get guys further down the roster onto the ice. That's going to cause mismatches. It's going to be fun. More games will end.
I think we fix the shootout by making it that the other team picks your shooters.
Or you put a player in net, not your goalie.
But then you'll have to put your backup goalie in.
Posts.
Oh, you got to play post like in Mighty Ducks. Everybody like that.
You could just do no time on the 3-on-3. They end so quickly anyway.
I would argue that endless 3-on-3 OT might be the best thing, and people just don't think about it because all of a sudden your roster goes from having 4 lines with 3 defensive lines to having what? Math?
Tyler wants back in, Liam.
Tyler Math?
iPhone 13.
Perfect timing, Tyler. You need to help me with this math
It's
here.
also an iPhone 13 now.
Oh, Tyler is doing so well for himself. He's got an iPhone 14.
It's
that's not
actually
even
an
out
iPhone 12, but he just calls it iPhone 13.
Yeah, you relabeled it.
But so on the 3-on-3 thing, it would also eliminate the guys just holding on to the puck.
Yeah.
Maybe in 3-on-3 OT also you get rid of the over and back, kind of like an NBA type thing, so they don't keep circling back like they always do.
But that's a really good point, Liam, because if you just log jam the star players like they tend to do right now, which is just possession game and take off the star players, then all of a sudden you're playing your 4th liners against our 2nd liners.
Yeah.
So it'd be good.
Do it.
We are watching Tyler walk on the Zoom call. I don't know if he can hear me or not.
That's a bus station.
What up?
That's a bus depot for sure.
Oh, no, he's outside.
Tyler, we're doing Ask the Idiots. You are rubbing Gary Bettman on the head, and you get one rule change that's not pertaining to what happens on the ice. So we've talked about, I brought up bringing franchise tags back in again. We talked about eliminating no movement clauses if you've asked for a trade. Is there a rule that you would love to change in the NHL that is not necessarily pertaining to what happens on the ice?
Oh, that's a good one. One that I heard floated out this weekend that really piqued my interest was limiting veteran player contracts. So once you hit, say, 30 years old, you cannot sign a contract that's more than 5 years long. And I actually think this is something that could benefit every party in terms of the PA and the leagues. Obviously, it would prevent GMs from shooting themselves in the foot with terrible, terrible contracts. It would save them from themselves. And also for the NHLPA as a whole, if you don't have older players on these terrible contracts that eventually just need buyouts, there could be more money to go around to the younger players, guys in their primes, right? So I wonder if maybe that's something that I would do, but that's kind of the first one that popped into my head.
Do you think the PA would be okay with that though? Like, I know you just said it would. I don't see how the older guys would be like, man, if you turn 31, I want that 7-year contract Why are you kicking us out to the curb when I'm 35 and bringing on this 22-year-old kid? I'm still better than him.
You're going to have to do the math in your head when you're resigning those contracts, though. You're going to have to be like, okay, my contract ends when I'm 30 or 29, and then you sign a longer one. You have to do a little forward thinking.
Yeah, it was just an idea to kind of get some more player movement going around the league as well. But you're right, Rick. The reason why it ultimately probably wouldn't happen is because, you know, the PA is generally led by the older generation of players, and those guys want to look out for, in some ways, the older generation of players. So I think it's a good point by you.
Question number 2, ask the idiots. The Oilers now have roughly $20 million in cap space with guys going on to the LTIR. Is there really a reason they have to keep Tyson Barrie, Tyler?
No, there's not. There's no reason why they should keep Tyson. Well, I shouldn't say no reason. There is an argument to be made for why you would keep Tyson Barrie, but I still think they'd be better off moving him. Listen, Cody Ceci on the right side handles all of your tough assignments, okay? Evan Bouchard can be your power play, second pairing guy, wherever you need to put him. He can do the offensive stuff that you need. That means Cody Ceci is locked in to be Tyson Barrie is locked in to be your third pairing defenseman, and you're paying him $4.5 million. If you can move on from him and get a guy who's cheaper and maybe even better in that role, then maybe you can spend that money elsewhere. Like the idea I floated out in my article was, you know, if you moved on from Barrie and then used that money to sign both of Calvin DeHaan and Mark Pysyk, a guy who can play the left and right side in DeHaan, a guy who's the strict righty in Mark Pysyk, are you not maybe better off spending that money? And maybe that duo is even cheaper than $4.5 million. But even if it was 4.5, are those two maybe not more valuable than just Tyson Barrie alone? So I don't think this Keith thing should be stopping the Oilers from making a move on Tyson Barrie, but we'll see what happens.
Just if you're listening to this podcast right now, so Tyler where are you walking right now? Are you walking back to the hotel?
Yeah, I just got back to my hotel.
So Tyler's walking back to his hotel and he's filming from underneath himself. I don't know if any of you are on TikTok as much as I am, but he kind of looks like that kid that's got the camera on his face that loves trains.
Francis?
Yeah. He just like, yeah, it's exactly like that. He just really looks like that kid that loves trains on TikTok. Dan, does the key thing mean Barrie has to stay?
I'm with Tyler. I'm with Tyler in the sense that, like, why do you have to stop improving your team at one? To me, the sky is now the limit for this team. There's a lot of different ways that we can look at this. We talked about it before Tyler got on the podcast, talking about priorities to spend that money. And for me, that's in the net. But, you know, you look at making a transaction with Tyson Barrie, and then all of a sudden, maybe John Klingberg is a new person that you identify as a guy to bring in. I don't know. Like there's a ton of options and a ton of things that have just kind of opened up in the last 2 days, and I have to give Ken Holland a ton of credit for that. So yeah, I don't think that you need to necessarily make a move, but I also don't think that it stops you from making that move and continuing to make your team better.
Liam?
I don't think Tyson Barrie needs to stay. I like Tyler's pick of Mark Pysyk, right defenseman, also right winger. Had a hat trick last year on the right wing.
No, he did not. Really?
Yes, he did. He played forward for one game and had a hat trick and only had 3 goals all season.
Wow.
Yeah, so you got to think that, bit of diversity there. But,
I like how he's listed on Cap Friendly as an RD/right winger. That's so funny.
I
Bufflin.
just think, why not just move him on? You can probably get something for Barrie too.
Sure. Why couldn't you?
Add a little bit of depth to your lineup. They're probably going to bring some more to your team. Like, I wouldn't keep him along.
Rick, what do you think?
Obviously, you don't have to keep him. There's worse moves out there to have, so he's not the worst player. But I do believe there might be better situational players out there. I think you still want to keep a veteran around. So whether it be DeHaan and Pysyk or one of the two or whatever, I think it has to be a bit of a veteran, a bit of a dressing room presence, someone who's been around and done some things and seen some stuff. But no, you're definitely not forced to keep him.
I think I have no problem with Tyson Barrie, so I'm going to start with saying that.
Me too.
I have zero problem with Tyson Barrie, but I think if Evan Bouchard is going to come eat his lunch money on the power play in terms of the minutes, then it might be nice to have a different flavor. You know, Might be nice to have a different flavor. So no, I don't think the Duncan Keith thing necessarily means Tyson Barrie should either stay or go. We'll see what happens with them because, like Liam said, there's value there. Third question. We kind of covered this a little bit, but now that Tyler's in the mix, I'm going to start with Tyler. What are your biggest Oilers priorities now that they've got some cash to spend that we didn't have a few days ago?
It's pretty clear, actually. It's goaltending, it's the left side of your defense, and it's getting some scoring in here. Between the pipes, I really do think, and, based on the chit chat I've kind of heard, it's going to be Campbell or Kemper, I believe, at least. That's me reading tea leaves of random conversations I've had. I think Campbell or Kemper make a ton of sense for the Oilers, and I think that's the way they would likely lean in this scenario. On the left side, I can't imagine Kulak not getting done. And up front, that to me is the biggest unknown because, could it be Evander Kane? Yep. Could it be someone they trade some future assets for? Yep. Could it be a combination of a few guys that they're just taking a shot at? Absolutely. I think there's a chance it's Evander Kane. There's a real chance it's Claude Giroux. That is legit. I think Dylan Strome is a great option, but obviously not nearly on the same level as those two. I think Mason Marchment is a really good option, obviously not on the same level as those two. I think if it's Evander Kane, it's probably just Evander Kane. If it's Claude Giroux, I actually think you could probably sneak in one of Strome or Marchment with Claude Giroux as well. So it'll be fascinating to see what decisions they end up making up on the left side or even the right side of the forward group, I should add, because they need some additions there. It's maybe not on the surface the bigger priority because you sit there and look at a team with McDavid and Draisaitl and you say, okay, they'll score. They don't have a goalie right now and they need some D-men. Those will get done, though. I think that it's a pretty clear-cut path to how you can fill those spots. Forward is much more complicated.
Rick, how are you prioritizing your money?
You know what? I'm not going to go position-wise. I'm going to say you need about 4 value. You need 4 value contracts. You need to win on 4 value contracts. You need 4 CC-type pickups this summer. One has to be a goaltender. One needs to be defense. I think you need 2 forward. So whether you have to win these deals. They have to be $4 or $5 million, and you got to win them. It's that simple.
Dan,
my problem is, and I'm with Tyler more than I was a couple days ago on the Kemper Campbell idea. My problem being that it's I don't know. It's just this is the exciting summer now for me, and those were the answers when we were up against it, and now I think that we could be more unique with it and more exciting with it. I don't know. I'm not fully sold on Kemper now after watching him in the playoffs myself. I think goalie is the position that they have to identify and have to fix first and foremost. But like Tyler said, I think that that's going to happen here. I may not necessarily agree with the fix that they make, but I'm okay with it because I just think that there needs to be, we need to address this stuff now. And so, yeah. To me, it's really exciting to see what happens with the goalies and the defense. And then, the subtext is what we do with the forwards.
Liam?
I think, obviously, goalie, but then just adding depth to the forward group. I think the Oilers got deeper last year, but those guys didn't necessarily contribute massively in the playoffs. Guys like Fogle, for example. We would have liked to see more from him. So that would be my big thing, just adding more depth. I like the Mason Marchment, Dylan Strome. I like both those ideas. And then maybe even just bringing in a more veteran guy to the bottom pairing of your defense just to kind of add a bit more to that rather than just running Broberg every night.
Yeah, just to wrap it up, I'm going to say priority goalie, defense, forward in that order for me. Forward is going to be, like Tyler said, the most interesting because losing Kane, that's obviously, that'd be a big loss. He was great for the Oilers, but maybe he comes back. Who knows? I have no idea. So there you go. Ask the idiots for our friends at Buster's Pizza. Boys, who's getting the GC? We've got rule change 1. Tyson Barrie question 2. And how are you prioritizing the cash number 3? Dan?
Rub Gary's head.
Everybody loves to. Liam?
Gary.
Rick?
Prioritizing cash.
Tyler?
Prioritizing cash.
He was just waiting
Yeah.
for an opportunity.
That was a strategic answer.
Okay, so I've got 2
I was going to say
options.
it anyways.
I've got 2 answers here that I need. So who's going to win? Who is going to win? I'm going to say prioritizing cash just because it's a bigger question. So Blake, I will reach out to you post podcast to get you your gift card from Buster's Pizza. I also want to know from you, the listener, how are you prioritizing the cash? Hit us up at ON Radio Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Lastly, it is time to get to our Twig and Berries hot and cold performers of the week. I'm going to keep this draft related. So we're going to look at, it could be any draft. It could be any team from this draft. However you want to do it, your hot and cold performers brought to you by Twig and Berries. Go to twigandberries.ca, use the promo code NATION15, get a discount on your order, or head on out to their store out in St. Albert to check out their wares in person. The Connor hoodie, I've got one. You need one. Promise you that. The ODR collection, excellent. If you go to the website, you can see Bearded Brad and some undies. That's just a free bonus for you. Good. Tyler, you were down in Montreal. We're going to start with our veggies. Who is your Twig and Berries cold performer of the week?
My Twig and Berries cold performer of the week. I got my hot performer locked and loaded. Cold performer, I would say the fact that I haven't had a poutine yet in Montreal. I'm giving it to myself. I'm going to hunt one out tonight, but I haven't had one yet.
I'm upset.
You know what? I'll give it to him. Whatever. He's at the draft and he hasn't had a poutine. I guess that's,
Close enough.
it accounts.
Right. All right.
He's the hypotenuse in this question.
I'll allow it.
Dan, your Twig and Berries cold performer of the week.
Can you just stop moving your screen for 1 sec, Liam? I'm just trying to read his name. Number 29 pick, Maverick Lamoureux, gets selected, and his parents share an intimate moment, and all of a sudden, the weird internet just starts focusing on their kiss and the fact that they included tongue in it, as if we've never kissed before on the internet, which is, I know is true about many people on the internet, but to me, the cold performer of the week is going to get the people that focused in on that kiss a lot too much.
What?
You know what? I respect the Lamoureux for going in for a tongue kiss after the boy gets drafted.
Okay.
I like that.
Exactly. Catch me when your kid gets drafted in the NHL and see if you want to make out with somebody or not.
I've been trying to tongue kiss all the boys here at the office all day long, and no one's taken. Liam, your Twig and Berries cold performer of the week.
I don't know if I'm even allowed to say this guy, but I'll say it anyway. Pierre Maguire on the panel is not ideal.
I did miss him. I did
That's
miss
such a
him.
nice way to say it, then.
Yeah, so there you go.
You're as cold as ice.
My favorite was in round one when I don't remember who it was that was sliding, and they're just like, Pierre, what's your take on so-and-so sliding? He's like, I don't know. End of sentence. It's just like, what? How is that your analysis?
There's so many. Sorry, the JT Miller one was my favorite when he's like, David Amber asked him, he's like, so what do you think of this, Pierre? And he's like, I don't like to speculate on players getting traded. And David Amber goes, well, that's the job.
There's a lot of love for David Amber last night. Rick,
your Twig and Berry cold performer of the week.
It has to go to Chicago. I don't know what exactly they were trying to do, or they made some interesting moves yesterday, and you're trying to rebuild. I get it, but you kind of need your 24-year-olds to rebuild. So unless they're trying to rebuild by starting a junior high team, I really don't know what they were doing.
Worse.
My Twig and Berry cold performer of the week is just every year I get bamboozled into not remembering how long the first round is. And there's something nice about the Oilers picking that late in the first round. If you think back to the draft parties, if you ever came to one, by the time pick 30 would have rolled around, 32 in this case, we would have been hammered.
To be fair, you probably have no real accurate timeline on how long a first round goes because of those parties.
Well, that's just it. So 4.5 hours, I think it was last night. So I'm just going to say we need to tighten it up somehow. But for the team here at Nation HQ, like Liam, who's making graphics, it worked out fine. I'm just a complainer. I ran out of my bottle of red wine last night, Liam, and I had an hour left to go.
Are you thrilled? I'm not.
I wasn't.
Premature push there.
But it all works out. So let's finish off the podcast on a positive note. Let's start with our Twig and Berries hot performer of the NHL Draft. Mr. Yaremchuk, you were down there. Who is your Twig and Berry hot performer of the week?
Forget everything that Dan said. Maverick Lamoureux's parents get my hot performer of the week. I've bthis for years. There's not enough horniness at the NHL draft. I'm glad they brought that energy.
For years, he said.
So this guy is smoking hot.
Tyler, a big fan of the boy auction. Rick, your hot performer of the week.
Oh, I want to pick with my heart and just say, what the Oilers and they're where they are now. But I saw something today that was absolutely phenomenal. And it was Bruce Boudreau getting to meet Kevin Owens. I don't know who got to see that, but seeing a grown-ass man get that excited about meeting his favorite wrestler. And that dude, like, he watches Raw and SmackDown regularly because he's like, oh, dude, like, you're out right now. He's asking about like, his injuries and stuff. Like, it was phenomenal. So Bruce Boudreau and Kevin KO connection, that's getting the hot performer.
He's a hot guy.
It was really funny because Bruce kept asking Kevin questions as if he didn't know the answer. Like, oh, you beat so-and-so at this match. And he's like, yes, I did. And Bruce is like, I knew you did. Like, it's just, it was so pure.
Honorary Colt performer. That while that was all going on, we missed the Oilers' second pick of the draft.
And the other one was a commercial break. We only got the first and the 7th round.
Yeah, we got the first and the 7th round picks on TV this year. Liam, your Twickenberry's hot performer of the week.
Slovakia. Good for them. 1 and 2 in the draft, and then, 26? Way to go, Slovakia.
The entire country of Slovakia.
Congratulations, Slovakia.
Yeah! Good work, everybody.
My hot performer of the week. I'm going to say my hot performer of the week for our friends at Twickenberries is Tyler for texting me right before the draft started last night and said, I think you should bet on Simon Nemec going at 2nd overall to New Jersey. I did do that, and I turned a little bit of money into a lot more money. So I like when a bet with juicy odds goes through. Big fan of winning money. So Tyler, a little sneaky info. You get my hot performer of the week.
Feeling hot, hot, hot. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
Let me just add on to that and say that if anyone would have watched the Daily Faceoff show yesterday, they would have had the same info.
Well, I don't have time.
So what you're saying is Bag Milk was not watching that?
I was not. I have too much to do to stare at Tyler all day. I do that on my personal time, not on work time. You know what I mean? Tyler, any final thoughts from Montreal as we wrap up episode 211 of Oilersnation Radio?
Hot performer first.
Oh, you haven't done it?
I haven't yet.
Oh, Dan, your
sorry, Tyler.
Twickenberry hot performer of the week.
My Twickenberry hot performer of the week is going to go to, it's a little bit of a cheat. It still has to do with the draft, but it's going to go to one Zack Kassian. I think if you looked back at the time when we made the transaction for Zack Kassian from the Montreal Canadiens themselves, a lot of us were only remembering him taking 6 or 7 of Sam Gagner's teeth at the time. So for a guy to turn around the fan base and get us so excited for him, and I think that the fan base was really hopeful for him the last few seasons as well. Just didn't work out, didn't pan out. Wish him all the best of luck in Arizona. So Zack Kassian, you get my hot performer of the week.
It's getting hot in here.
Sorry, Dan, missed you.
That's okay.
Zack Kassian, we had some good memories. I think about the 2017 playoff run. He was a monster against the Sharks. That's what I remember. The chops, the celebration with that fan after that one goal. We all loved it. We all loved it. Can you believe 7 years here in Edmonton, Liam? 7.
Me or Kassian?
Kassian.
Oh.
I don't know when you got
He was here for 7 years?
Yeah, 7 seasons.
Kassian.
That's
The trade took place, almost 7 years. The trade took place in December of 2015.
Liam, how long have you been in Edmonton?
Way longer than 7 years.
Well,
12
Liam
years.
wins. And
Take that, and I'm still here.
Well.
Take that, Zach.
shout out to the Oilers for winning the Scrivens for Kassian trade.
Yeah, that was big.
That's a big win.
The professor.
Tyler, any final thoughts from Montreal?
Just really cool. Like, honestly, my first ever time being at an NHL draft. And the fact that Montreal's picking first and Montreal made those big splashes, like, I'll never forget the noise the crowd made when it was Juraj Slafkovsky going first overall. I'll never
What was
forget
it? Because I texted you, I asked you and you didn't answer.
Oh, sorry. It was just a mix of like gasps. Imagine like 40% of the people cheering, 30% of the people gasping, and the other 30% just being like, whoa. And like you almost just heard only those 3 reactions. It was wild. And then when they made the trade, Bettman comes up and they're booing the shit out of him, right? Because they always do that. And he goes, I got to trade. They both involve the halves, and everyone is just like, whoa, like on pins and needles. They boo the hell out of the fact that they traded Romanov. And then when the Doc thing happens, they go nuts. It was just so neat to be in the building. I also thought Gary Bettman does a great job with that stuff. The drama in the way he announces the trades. And also, I don't know if they showed this on TV, but after like the 4th pick, he goes up and because they boo him every pick, right? So he goes up, and the boos were kind of quiet, and Bettman goes like, you're getting tired. And then they just cranked it up a notch and booed him even more. It was just a ton of fun to be here. But the one thing I will say, we've done this debate on the podcast before. We always said, would you rather have Edmonton get a draft or an all-star game? I think after I've experienced both of them now this year for the first time, the answer is definitely the all-star game. It's way more fun from a fan perspective.
Last question, Tyler. We saw you having hot dogs in the press box. What was the final total?
They ran out of buns halfway through the day, so I didn't get to go back for any more. It was 3 on night 1, 2 during the day today.
You didn't decide
and they had other food there. So
just held a glizzy.
you just go glizzy down the gullet?
They have some sort of special bun, though, it looked like.
You got pocket wieners right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's what they're kind of famous for, I guess, in the media, right? Is these press box hot dogs, and the bun is weird combination. It's like a piece of bread, white bread almost, but it's folded. I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but it's fantastic.
I would go back while you can. Maybe just get some glizzies. Pack those around. Pocket full of them.
No smoked meat sandwiches though, Tyler.
Tyler, you got a lot of food to eat before you leave. When do you come home? Tomorrow? Sunday?
I leave tomorrow at 8:50 in the morning.
So you better pack those down. Better pack them in. We will see you soon.
Big night of glizzies for me.
Is there anything happening for the media now that the draft's done?
Get out.
Nope, we are done. Yeah, they honestly, we were doing the rundown, and the little coordinator person came up to me and was like, you got to be wrapped up by 5. And I was like, it's 3:30, but okay. And they're like, yeah, no, we're going to start cleaning up right away. I was like, oh, sorry. As soon as the draft's done, they have 50 workers in there. The thing's half taken down already.
Wow. Crazy.
Wow. Well,
they got to move on for the next draft.
So nothing to do next one.
Shit to do.
Yep.
All right, there you go. So for Oodle Noodle, DoorDash, Cornerstone Insurance, Buster's Pizza, and twigandberries.ca, this is Oilers Nation Radio, episode 211. Thank you to Zack Kassian for your time served here at Edmonton. Thank you to Duncan Keith for enjoying 11 a.m. pitchers of sangria, allegedly, in my opinion. That's what you deserve, bro. You got a Hall of Fame career to lay back on. You got some cup rings. That's all you need. So from all of us, thank you for listening. Have a great weekend. Hit us up with some feedback on what you thought of the NHL draft, and check out all the stories at OilersNation.com.
Shout out Luca Del Bel Buzzu.
Thanks for listening to Oilers Nation Radio, delivered by DoorDash. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram.